Hey guys, I'm Adam Fenig with Fenig Equipment. You're tuned into the Talking Shed. Hey, today I'm in the shop, and today is early October. It's raining. It's probably about 45 degrees today, and I had something on my mind. You know, as these combines are getting ready to roll, I can't help but think of all the Devastators that Fenig Equipment has out there that are going to be rolling across these cornfields this fall. And something to keep in mind, you know, you've went through your combine, you've went through the corn head, but don't forget about those Devastators rolling underneath them. So what I've got here is I've got the Devastator bearing insert. So as you know, bearings on those Devastators have just an insert, and then they've got a cast housing with the insert already in those. So I want to show you guys the steps to change your bearings if you have a failure this fall. So this is already on your Devastator. If you have a bearing failure, if you don't have one in stock, you would first call Fenig Equipment and we can get you plenty of these. If you don't currently have one of these on the shelf, I urge you to call us right now and have maybe an insert or a cast housing with an insert on the shelf so that you're ready, and that if one were to fail, you would not have any downtime. You could just simply swap them out. So I urge you to call us and get a couple headed your direction. But I'm going to show you how to change these out. A lot of guys maybe get confused that this bearing is pressed into this cast housing, and it is not. Your replacement bearings come with a great set of instructions on how to do this. So if you look on this bearing, if you can see here, there is 2 notches on each side. And that is what you're going to use to turn this bearing out. And I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to put the bearing in the vise, and we're going to use a bolt or a pry bar, something long, because your bearing that's in there is probably going to come out a little stiffer than this particular one would right here. So you can see that I can turn this bearing, and it is in there like this from the factory. So we're going to turn it, and then you will simply slide it out. Once you line it up, you'll be able to slide it out of these notches just like that. It'll take a little bit of playing with, but I'll insert it now. You put it in there and you turn it. Adjust it with your hands a little bit, and that bearing now turns inside that cast housing. Now, as you can see, I've got some AntiSeize all over my hands. In this instruction sheet, Yetter highlights to put AntiSeize on this cast housing. So right inside of here, you'll want to put a lot of that on there, put it on the outside of this bearing. It makes a little bit of a mess, but it sure does make it nicer popping these bearings in and out of here. Especially after they've covered several thousand acres, it's going to make it much easier to pop that bearing in and out. So again, you can buy the bearing from Fenig Equipment just like this, and you can use your existing housing, or for much faster in-field swaps, you can just buy the complete housing and bearing with the bearing inside and just take your 1/2-inch bolts out of the Devastator and slide a new one back in, and you would have hardly any downtime whatsoever when changing a bad Devastator bearing. So again, I urge everyone to give us a call, get 1 or 2 of these on the shelf. That way it's guaranteed that if you break down at 6 p.m. on a Friday, you will have no downtime whatsoever waiting on us to ship one to you. Again, Yetter has a phenomenal instruction sheet on how to do that, but you simply put it in the vise and put something in there, turn the bearing out, slip it out through the notches, and you're good to go. So that's what we're doing today here in the shop, showing you guys how to swap out your Yetter Devastator bearings. Thanks for tuning in. So I want to give everyone a really close-up view here. This bearing sits inside the housing. You can see the notches on either side. That is where you are going to pull that bearing out of there with. So you basically turn that with a pry bar or something, hit it a couple times, it's now loose in there. So you will now want to line it up side to side, and it will come right out of those notches. Those notches are designed so you can slip this bearing in and out. Once you get it in there, the AntiSeize allows it to freely rotate within the cast housing, and you can get it pressed in there just like you want it and slip the Devastator bearing back in place.